Charges for the Trumps. Other rich friends caught up in insider trading scandals. Who really told the felon to reverse the tariffs? Will China come to the table or will they play hardball? Was the US economy on the verge of collapse? And is it possible that the felon's actions on tariffs to make the market swing is deliberate and a way of paying blackmail? Let's look into all that. Welcome to Scrying Out Loud. My name is Trevor. First of all, everything in this reading is for entertainment purposes only. Thank you to all the new subscribers, to everybody who likes, watches, comments on the video. If you've donated money to the channel, huge thank you. So I did a reading on the tariffs. I still think the tariffs are going to be the felon's ultimate downfall. I don't think that changed. But he did reverse most of the tariffs, or he paused them for 90 days. And the question really is why? And I think the answer lies in the bond market of the United States. So the bonds swung, the yields on the bonds swung very dramatically, like a half a point in a day on the 10-year note, which is a huge move. Normally they swing, hundreds of a point. So they went from like 4.5% down to 3.9. Now they're back up to 4% after he reversed the tariffs. Now, the bonds are the US's way of issuing debt. So it could mean that there wasn't enough. It could have just been an indication that the economy was about to go crazy. Normally, when bond rates go down dramatically, it's an indicator of a recession, but also affects the, borrowing power of the United States and things like that. So, what's the economy on the verge of collapse? Well, it was given something that it couldn't handle, right? The tariffs certainly made the economy weak because they couldn't handle them. The Four of Cups. The challenge was sabotage. It was like he was purposely trying to ruin the economy, and perhaps we should read on that as well. Russia was involved. We all pointed out that there were no tariffs on Russia, and there was an easing on some sanctions, and particularly when it comes to cryptocurrency for Russia. In the past, we have giving and receiving of loans and debt. So that's what it was about. It was about the US not being able to manage its debt anymore because of the bond market going crazy. Everybody was selling their bonds, which was driving the yields lower. Nobody wanted to hold US debt. So bonds work in a weird way. The higher the yield, the less people want. The lower the yield, the more people want the bonds. And that's why the rates went down a half point, because everybody was buying them, probably on the secondary market too. You can trade these things just like stocks. Also, this was a judgment call, a bad judgment. I think people around him made a judgment and said, hey, this isn't working. We're about to collapse the economy. In the near future, we see him holding on to his money, worried about money. Like, this is personal money, though, not the economy. Yeah, the economy was in a bad shape, but now it's like moving away from the trouble now that he's reversed the tariffs. It's a surprising new beginning because I think we'll see him weakened politically quite a bit with this yet another decision to reverse tariffs. I don't think countries are going to go for it anymore. I think if he says he's imposing a tariff, they're just going to impose a tariff back. And if he pauses it, they're not going to pause theirs. They're just going to, and I think that's what's happening with China. We get emotional messages pleading. I feel like there was a lot of pleading in the Oval Office with him to reverse them. Although part of me thinks that was always his plan. The wheels were turning, the economy was on the brink. It was definitely on a downward trajectory, the Eight of Wands. And these tariffs were just too much burden for the economy to handle. So, yeah, the economy was on collapse because we wouldn't have been able to manage our debt. Nobody wanted it anymore. So, we get defending ourselves, illusion and delusion, and then walking away from things that don't serve us, which were the tariffs. So, yeah, the US economy was definitely on the verge of some serious issues had he kept the course. So, who really was behind reversing the tariffs? Who's really behind reversing? The Treasury Secretary said today that the bond market was indicating really bad warning signs. Who's really behind? I think there were several people, but I think he expected that. Let's ask that question. Did he expect people to come to him and ask him to reverse the tariffs? Even Musk was involved in this, asking him to reverse tariffs. Not reverse them, but just not implement them. There's something behind the scenes that we can't see. Some sort of darker influences. I think these are the crony friends, and I think this has to do with, for entertainment purposes only, blackmail. It's all like, oh, if you announce the tariffs are going to be reversed right before the stock market goes up, let's buy a bunch of stocks and then let's sell it. We need to have serious investigations into what happened as far as who was buying and selling stocks. The problem was the fiery new leadership, this crazy, I wouldn't even call it fiery, this crazy leadership style that he's implementing that makes no sense to anybody. We get the Queen of Cups underneath, pleading, begging. We were at a crossroads in the past. This was the tariffs themselves. Partnerships forming. This, I think, is a partnership between him and Musk. I wouldn't be surprised if this whole thing was planned out. And Musk's whining was just a way of making it a little bit more publicly tolerable that he did this. Yeah, in the near term future, we get trickery, deceit, deception, fraud. I mean, that's what it's all about. It's going to get exposed though in the future. It might take a few years though because they control all the places that would investigate this. We get victory. They won. They got exactly what they wanted. They wanted the stock market to crash, and then they wanted a sudden boom back. Now it's probably going to crash again and boom back and crash again and boom back for many, many days. But that's exactly how you make a lot of money. You can make money when the market's going down by shorting the market. With the Ace of Pentacles, a new financial reality. This volatility is going to be a new reality for people. Surprising new beginnings. That's the third ace in this reading. That's in the hopes and fears. Yeah, the devil card in the outcome, toxicity, abuse of power, deceit, manipulation, manipulating the markets on purpose. Why? To gain money, the Nine of Pentacles. To get stability for some, lack of stability for others. Underneath, we have the intergenerational relationship card. We get lots of fighting, but there's some people celebrating. So some people were pretty happy with what happened. Others were not. And the others that were not were just the typical voter. Nobody wants to see their 401k go down by 20%. And yeah, it went up by 8% yesterday, but that still doesn't make up for the losses. And it's going, I'm recording this on the morning, Thursday morning, and the market's down the last time I looked again. So the other thing that I saw happening was when I was scrying this morning was something called naked short selling. Okay, so when you short the market, what you essentially do is you borrow a stock, you sell the borrowed stock, and then you buy back a different stock to give back the stock that you borrowed. And hopefully you buy it back at a cheaper price. So therefore you made money. But I think there's one brokerage account in particular that's in trouble for naked short selling. I don't know that that'll get exposed right away. Naked short selling is where the person sells the stock, but they didn't borrow it because there was no stocks to borrow. But the brokerage account still lets that transaction go through. Like they're supposed to match that up. They're supposed to borrow a stock when you short sell. Where's there some, just a real quick yes or no? Was there naked short selling going on during this big fall? So stocks can get harder and harder to borrow. Now, naked short selling is very illegal. Yeah, it was going on. So I think we'll discover that. I don't know who in particular was doing it. You know, one of the big brokerage accounts, the would be my guess. And I just got a glimpse of that when I was scrying. Okay. So moving on, will China negotiate? So China hasn't taken back their retaliatory tariffs, at least at the time of the recording of this video, which anything can happen. Everything moves very quickly. Will China negotiate with the United States? China. Yeah, I see two poker hands in the water, and the United States' hand is way weaker than China. China has the upper hand here. We need them more than they need us because they have big trading partners in their region, right? They trade with Australia as a big trading partner, for example. China negotiate. Get the card for the felon. They're thinking about how to play him the best. They're thinking about what all can they get out of the United States because the felon is such a poor leader and such a demented individual at this point that they think they can get more out of him. So they're not willing to negotiate yet. The challenge is the Hierophant, the courts, the Pope, the church. The challenge is, um, holding up institutions. I think it's a better interpretation of the Hierophant there. We have fiery messages going back and forth between the two countries. The felon said something like, oh, 40 some or 70 some countries have come to negotiate these tariffs. They want to do better. We have no evidence that that's true. And why would we believe him? Almost everything he says is a lie. The time for temperance is in the past, and moderation's in the past. With the card for the Democrats in the sky, the Democrats are going to try to help take the lead on this. And I think Congress is going to try to do something on tariffs. I don't think they'll succeed because of the House, but the Senate, on the other hand, might hold some hearings on them. In the near term future, and I do think this is very near term, we do have stability. The economy will be stable for a while. That doesn't mean prices aren't going up. It just means that we're not going to be on the verge of the market losing 20% in a day or anything like that. Messages coming forward on money. I think they're going back and forth, but I think China keeps changing the negotiations. Yeah, fiery messages back and forth with the Knight of Wands. We get the Star card and the hopes and fears. So there's some hope that there's a little bit of protection, but we've burned the bridges with our allies. So I don't know that we can use our allies to negotiate with them. China's very strong. They have the stronger position. He has made it to where China went from under Joe Biden of being fairly weak, their economy not doing well compared to the global economies, to them now having the upper hand. He has made China strong and weakened everybody else. But justice is coming. I do think eventually we get a fairer deal, and we'll be walking away from these tariffs. It might just go back to the way it was before, where he claims they were taking advantage of us, because he suffered a great loss, the Five of Cups, and the voters. Voters don't want this. What don't they want? They don't want the moon card, which is about volatility, things coming to the surface. We have circles of support around money. This is the Three Musketeers, Elon, Putin, and the felon. And we get the world card, the end of a dark cycle, or the end of a cycle, I mean. So US's global dominance on the trading market, I think, has come to a complete and utter end in a catastrophied way. And I don't think that it's going to recover. Okay. So the other thing I saw while scrubbing was charges for Trumps, not the felon though, the family. So will there be insider trading charges? I guess it's like, so did he tell him that he was going to announce the tariff pause and therefore they went and bought a bunch of stocks? Or did he tell him that, we're going to announce these tariffs and they're way worse than anybody thought? That way they could short the market. And Eric is currently into the crypto, but the crypto market has been basically following the normal market for a long time. There'd be insider trading charges. There'd be insider trading charges. The challenge is definitely it's going to be years before we have a proper government investigating these things. Yeah, this is a yes card, the King of Wands. Passion for the rule of law is going to come back. Their challenge is that the whole structures got torn down to the point to where people are going to be looking at this. right? They keep track of every stock trade they have to legally. All this paperwork will still be there when the Democrats take back over. Congressional investigations, possibly, but even DOJ investigations in 2028. They thought they were fooling people, but they really weren't. They think we're kind of fools. They think people don't understand things. It's anyhow, new beginnings around financial situations are in the past. That was the tariffs and then the reversal to make the stock market go way down and then way up. And I think it's going down again today, but the end of a cycle, the world card, it affected the whole world. There might even be investigations worldwide. Who knows who was buying and selling US stocks, right? They don't have to necessarily be in the US. You get the Queen of Wands and the near-term future passion about this. They'll be passionately looking into what was going on as far as trading. Yeah, people are going to go to jail for entertainment purposes only with the Eight of Swords. I don't know who's going to jail, but people are going to go to jail because they were made an offer by the snake, by the devil, by the felon that they couldn't refuse. They knew they could make a lot of money. I mean, if they timed it right, theoretically, they could have made a 30% return in less than 2 weeks. That's a lot of money. Yeah, things are on the precipice with the Wheel of Fortune. We do get ill health. Their behaviors were ill. We get victory. I think the people win at the end, and these people are charged with crimes, and we get circles of support and celebration. So I think ultimately the voters and the citizens of the US and of the world will uh, get justice, and the people that were trading on inside information will be punished, probably in the US, but probably elsewhere as well. And what about the tariffs did I say? Is it's going to be his complete and utter downfall. People are going to know that he used this to manipulate so people could make money. It's going to leave a lot of people isolated and alone. So I think stay tuned to that. The other thing I wanted to look into before we wrap up this reading is I have been of the belief for a very long time that the felon doesn't really have any money. And so he's using these stock market swings to pay either people he owes money or people that are blackmailing him for entertainment purposes only. The stock market swings away at pain. Sure feels like it. See the Eight of Swords in the water, which is about confinement. Like he didn't really have a choice. And I think this might have been hashed out even before the election. Yeah, death, a dark cycle, the ending of the way the market was used to now a new way of the market is being used to make money, to pay debts, blackmail. The problem is he wants to move away from troubled water, but the truth is about blackmail is you can never move away from it. They'll just continue to blackmail you, right? So it's a fool's errand, and he is kind of the ultimate fool. Here's the emperor, the abuse of power, the manipulation of the market for personal gain. It was a gamble, and it's still a gamble on whether it gets exposed. It's in the past, though, but the gamble's already happened with the Wheel of Fortune. We get pausing and suspension. people are going to look into this, and not just in the United States, because not only did the United States market go down and then up, so did the European markets, so did the Asian markets. All over this happened. We get the Page of Wands in the near term outcome, fiery messages coming forward. Wouldn't be surprised if the Democrats start asking questions about this. We get justice, which is good. Justice will be served. It's a matter of when. And like I said, I think it has to be when the administration ends. And we get temperance, which is about moderation, a return to moderation. Strengthen the hopes and fears. This is an illusion, right? The felon and his cronies who cooked this up thought they were in a strong position and they weren't. They thought they were acting from a place of strength, but the truth is, what the people around him didn't know is that he was acting from a place of weakness because he needed these big market fluctuations so that he could pay people off. Yeah, immaturity, the Six of Cups, the intergenerational card. He's thinking about his kids. He doesn't want his kids to find out the secrets. He's holding everything very tight to his vest. The Four of Pentacles. And here he is, the Fool. Literally, the Fool, standing behind the podium. The Fool. So, very good ending card. Also means there might be new beginnings. We get the greedy merchant or wish fulfillment with the Nine of Cups. We get the Ace of Pentacles, a new beginning around money. What was driving it all? Well, the devil energy, right? Mis and disinformation, misdirection, pinning everything on the other countries as if really these trade deals that have been going on for decades were their fault somehow, right? It was all about misdirection, but it's ultimately going to lead to judgment and families coming together. And he suffers a great loss. Why does he suffer a loss? Because of deceit, deception, the Seven of Swords. Always gets the Seven of Swords. So, yeah, I think this, unfortunately, the world is in this game of we're going to manipulate the market for personal gain, and there's not really much we can do about it. So, anyhow, thank you for watching. I'll be back with another video soon.